Hey, it's Ashley and I'm back with another haircut tutorial. Today we're going to be doing a longer men's fade. I'm going to be starting with a number 6 on the sides and scissor cutting the top with my shears. Before we get any further, please don't forget to check out my new Patreon where I will be posting videos before they come out on my YouTube channel. This is just something that I've been working on and hope to share with you. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. And if you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let's get back into this haircut. Starting with a number 6 guard on my clipper, I went at the parietal ridge of my client's hair. Normally that would be around the temple, and I'm going to use my comb as a guide, meeting my clipper to my comb, and then going in and just making sure that I have everything cut down to that number 6 guard before moving on to my next section. Going to the back of the head, I am just making sure that I am scooping out around the client's occipital bone. Normally where the head starts to protrude out is where you would like to scoop out because you want to kind of get everything down to the right size with that number 6 guard. Making my way around, I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So really using that comb as a guide and meeting that comb to clipper on the temple is going to set where your fade starts. So this is that number 6 guard, and I am just going in and using the comb and making sure I'm getting all that longer hair. You can see I'm not pushing my hair out of the way and not cutting the hair that's going to sit over that number 6. I want to cut that hair out of my way. You can see when I'm going in the back of the head, I'm scooping up and making sure I'm getting all of that longer hair. This is essentially going to make it a lot easier when you're fading your haircut because you're already starting your fade process right here by flicking your clippers out or using your comb to meet that longer hair over. If not, you're just kind of stopping somewhere and not continuing it to fade seamlessly. So after I do that, I'm going to open my clippers, and that's going to create a 6.5. And you can see I'm just lightly going in and flicking into that number 6 guard already. Since I had a longer clipper guard, I am not going to go in and keep fading up. I can cut everything with my shear over comb and my fingers and shears afterwards. So before I move on to shear work, I'm going to make sure that I'm going and cleaning up around my client's hairline and ears with my comb as a guide and making sure that I'm keeping this a little bit lower on the ear. If your client is getting a longer clipper guard, they most likely don't want to see a lot of their ears when you're kind of doing like a bald fade. They really want that tightness around the ear. In this case, you want to leave a little more length, so I am just making sure I'm pulling it all out to the natural hairline and not cutting into my client's hairline at all. And this way it ensures that they keep some of that length at the hairline like they prefer on this longer men's haircut. So going in and just following that natural hairline, I'm going to go back and make sure I make a clean line and just clean up any loose neck hair. So I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side, just going around the temple, making sure the hairline's cleaned up, pulling everything out to the hairline, and then double checking that crisp line. I will go ahead and taper my sideburns down because this will ensure that the sideburns aren't growing out crazy on our clients in between their haircuts, and that they're kind of tapered down so that they are not as wild and thick when the client is, in between those haircuts, especially on a longer haircut client with that longer clipper guard. They will definitely wait a little bit longer in between haircuts because they already have the more shaggy look. So it is important to kind of have a nice, clean, crisp cleanup, but just making sure you're not going too above those ears, like I said before. So you can see that I'm just making sure I'm getting a very nice clean lineup, and I do this for all of my clients. It does take me about 5 minutes to do a lineup. I mean, I don't think that's a lot of time. I say 5 minutes with your clippers, 5 minutes with your trimmers, and 5 minutes with your shears. You should have a 15-minute haircut with a 5-minute wash. That's a 20-minute total haircut. So that's just my professional opinion on timing of a haircut. Every haircut is different and every texture is different, so your haircuts will vary. So to blend in the top of my haircut to the sides of my haircut, I will take out a section from the crown of the head all the way in the back, going towards my temple. And now at this 45-degree angle with my shear over comb, I will start to cut anything that is not even on this angle with my number 6 guard. So it's very simple. I'm taking the length from that number 6 guard and I'm using it as a guide to follow through with a 45-degree angle on this haircut. You can see that blended everything in except my bangs. So I sectioned out my bangs so that I can have a lot more length in the front than on the sides. And so we will connect it later. Focusing on the back of the head, I am pulling out at the occipital bone where we were flicking our clippers, and we did leave it a little bit longer in the back. And I am just meeting it at a 45-degree angle and then working that angle all the way up to the crown of the head. This is also normally where people's cowlicks sit, so this will be very important when you are blending the top of the head. You don't want to cut this too short, so we did leave some leeway in the back of the head to blend with our top for length. So as you can see, every step that I'm taking to blend these sides in with the top, I am making sure to leave in some length. Now, to make sure we're connecting, we do have a lot more weight that sits behind the ear, so we want to make sure we're double checking that connection after we do our sides blended and our back. Now we can take a little bit of that and kind of blend to the front before going towards the other side of this haircut. After having both of my sides blended in, I'm going to trim my bangs before cutting the top of the haircut. I am going in and just taking about 1 inch of the bangs off of the client, making sure that I am working from the middle towards the outside of the face so that I can make sure that everything is even on both sides. I can also use my comb to help stabilize my line, especially if there's any cowlicks in the front of the head. This will help make sure you're keeping the hair at a more natural state before cutting. So I'm going to move on to the other side and repeat the same thing, starting from the middle and working my way over. I'm going to make sure that I am trimming all of the bangs to an even length. Now that I have my bangs cut, I am going to create a mohawk section on the top so that I can start trimming everything evenly. So going in and cutting at a very straight angle, I am just using the length that I previously cut on top of the bangs to follow through all the way to the back of my client's head. I'm going to be meeting this with what I've already previously blended in from the number 6 guard, and we should have everything meeting beautifully in the back of the head. So after I've got my mohawk section cut out, I'm going to go in and pull up sections parallel to the mohawk so that I can make sure that we are all even. So I'm going to start that on my right side, and then after that's completed and everything's met to the mohawk section, I am going to double check with my blend on the number 6 guide. So we had our blend together, and now I'm going to take this corner of weight off of my client's parietal ridge. This weight was left for our blending, and now that we have our top length cut down to size and our sides blended in, we can meet everything together very seamlessly. So I have that side completely finished. I'm going to move on to my other side, pulling back up at my mohawk section. I am going to pull up in about 4 to 5 different sections all along the crown of the head, making sure that I am point cutting for texture. You don't have to do that, but this is just a way that I prefer to cut. And then I am going in and making sure that I am blended again to that number 6 guide. Once I've checked everything on those sides, I'm going to pull out my corner again and cut that corner off on my parietal ridge, making sure that I am meeting those sides and top together so that we have a seamless haircut. After, I am going to make sure that I am double checking my haircut before washing and styling my client. So I am just going in and nitpicking anything that I see. I notice that this corner is a little bit longer since he does brush it over to this side. I don't want there to be too much weight, making sure that my client is happy with how everything looks before we go wash it and style it. After washing, I'm going to recape my client in case I have to cut anything I see after the wash. And I'm going to go in with my blow dryer and blow dry the back of the head. I did towel dry my client before blow drying just so that I got any of that loose water out. And I am making sure as I'm blow drying that everything is falling seamless, that I don't have any lines in my haircut, that my haircut just looks really nice and clean on my client. I am taking a bit of a matte pomade and I am just dusting it in my client's hair for a medium to light natural hold. And this is just going to give him a little bit more of, some placement where he wants to keep his hair, just so he's not kind of worried about it all day. I really hope you enjoyed this haircut tutorial and learned something new from it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much.